Today we're reviewing Badfinger's Baby Blue single from the album Straight Up. It was released in March of '72 with the B-side Flying, and I think we have a lot to say about this one. So let's jump into it. First thoughts?
Well, Baby Blue is although I think it didn't chart as high as Day After Day, is of course is part of the zenith of Badfinger, the peak of their sound that was commercially coming through to the public anyway. And this song, again, as Day After Day, really does leave you speechless. Stunning guitar work throughout the song, stunning interlacing of guitar, which forms really the heart of the song. The harmony, the way it builds with, and I have to say the word Beatlesque way, although it's Badfinger, when Tom Evans comes in with the high harmony in the song in the second verse, is superb. All throughout, Joey Mullen's slashing guitar, it was just the solo in the middle. I didn't know these things or who was playing what when I heard it, but just a historical note. It was stunning. It was unlike anything. The first impression I had, I didn't understand the song. I never heard anything like it. It was just these descending, weird, interlacing guitar things going throughout. I didn't really understand it. And this song, Day After Day, you heard it and you were immediately knocked out. Baby Blue, you were immediately attracted to it, but it took a while to absorb what was going on here. And it's a rock song of the highest order with regret in the song. It's not a ballad. It's not a slow yesterday type looking back and regretting. There's a multitude of those types of songs, and this is just a stunning guy, an original artist. Again, the Pete Ham Genius song. Where did it come from, etc., etc. I have no idea. I don't think anything's. But it's a rock song. Lyrically, you don't hear too many that say, "Guess I got what I deserved," and goes from there. Musically, it's stunning throughout with the guitars and the harmonies, and I'm just kind of speechless. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, no, it's. I'll give some of the statistics because that's a good emotional dive into it. It hit number 14 on Billboard, number 9 on Cashbox. So you're right in saying it was really, I guess, debatably a top 20 hit, not even top 10.
I believe it was the last Badfinger song I heard played on the radio, which would have been in their peak, and you never would have dreamt at the time that that's the last one.
Then it had a second life, because after you're wearing this shirt, right, this Breaking Bad thing, I think this it's probably their best selling song now. I know it charted again. I think it charted higher than it ever did. And I remember I was streaming it, not officially on Netflix or anything like that, with some friends off my laptop, and I remember I heard the song and I thought it was like my iTunes was playing and somebody had moved like a Bluetooth controller. So I stood up like out of embarrassment. But lo and behold, it was in the final 5 minutes of the song of the show, and so now it has that association too. But again, interesting at the time that it wasn't even released. I guess I see here on the charts that it was released in Australia, Canada, some other places, but it wasn't released as a single in the UK, which kind of breaks from everything previously, and maybe the first type of Badfinger curse that we'll probably get into that I don't want to linger too much time on. But why wasn't it released in the UK when it was released in every other
I don't really know.
So we're not sure about that. But yeah, as a song, unbelievably strong. The guitar work, I think when I show it to people, it's almost too much on a first or second listen to take it in, just how much is happening there. But for that reason, it has so much tenure, right? And they're like in their canon of just people like this song you can listen to and hear something different each time. And I think for that reason, the middle 8, it introduces like all of this power and everything there too that makes it the guitar solo. There's so many phases of this song that make it so powerful. I guess what's interesting also, just to point out, because we're listening to the record version, it has this US single mix, which is like kind of more echo on the drums.
Guess I got what I deserve.
I don't know how I feel about that. I think it does date it a little bit, so we won't review it based off of that. I'll base it off kind of the straight up version. But it comes in so hard at the beginning, the Guess I Got What I Deserved, and then the kind of callback to that after the solo where it almost like you're reaching the soaring guitar solo, everything's good, but then the first lyric you hear is like, guess that's all I have to say. So it kind of comes back to this...
just one thing before I go.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a type of rock frequently as is done with a real cocky, anti-authority, or just roll it along, or even she was just 17, you know what I mean, or any of that. This is and that's superb, of course, but this is a different thing, and I've never really quite heard anything like it before or since.
And it's super personal, right? So there's both that tone of writing it from his point of view.
Yes.
And then even mentioning the name Dixie at the end of it, which has gotten a lot of thoughts, I think, historically. But I don't think, almost the fact that it's saved for the end. I think other songs, people have always named people, right? Whether they're real or not, and written love songs to certain people. But to save it for the last 5 seconds of this song, it makes it seem like some big reveal, or almost like a slip that he wasn't supposed to say. So, or the second time he says it, I guess.
Well, it would be very unusual, almost unheard of to me. Yes, names have been used in songs, but in the world of the English type invasion, British invasion type music, to use the name of a person in a song that was a real person, it's not, I don't know, maybe Maybelline was real too with Chuck Berry, I don't really know, but Dixie is a real person. We didn't know any of that at the time, and it was odd. It was odd that the name was in the song. I couldn't quite figure it out, where it came from. But you spoke of the middle eight, and I'd just like to add one thing about Baby Blue. That middle eight is really something also that's just stunning. I mean, and I always thought it was Joey Mullen doing it, but just the wham, wham on the chords. Yes, what I say, bam, it just said that, boom, boom, and they did that. And never did it to better effect than here. And
the thing I love though about that middle eight is the way it sounds like, and they do this in Take It All too, where they're both at the top of their range. Like Pete Ham is straining to hit those notes, and I think it is pretty high. And Tom Evans is also straining to hit the harmony, and they strain in the same way, and it's so cool to hear that. Almost like they're both kind of in that. It's like a collaboration in that.
Well, the blend of their voices, which is just their two voices throughout this record, anyway. I mean, Joey spoke with his guitar, but the harmonies between Pete Ham and Tom Evans throughout also put it at the top of the class. I mean, it's so good.
Okay, and we flip it over and we get to Flying on the B-side. I think we were both kind of caught off guard by that. It's consistent because the B-side to Day After Day was Money, and this is kind of the medley, so this is the second half of that. But, do you think it works as a B-side? What's your take?
I wasn't sure that it was going to be the B-side. It's a different thing altogether. It is the other, in large measure, the feeling on that album. Everybody was contributing, so you had obviously Pete Ham, as we've spoken about, classic songs, and Flying is there's the other vibe. That's the other part of Badfinger, and I don't know if it works as a B-side to Baby Blue. I'm trying to think of what else might have been put on there from the album. I Die Babe, maybe, or something. I don't know. But Flying, the song is superb. It's the Joey Tommy vibe, which was a little more mystique and a different kind of like young manish kind of thing. They weren't like growing. It was like these. We related to it a lot at the time. They seemed like they always talk about Tom and Pete today, but in those days, seeing the group, it was like Joey and Tom on one side and the serious Pete Ham on the other. And the ending, I have to just the last word about Flying, that it goes to like whether it's a minor seventh or whatever it is, it goes to a completely different chord and gradually descends with a beautiful, almost not to be heard at the end, a bass drop off, and it's just a superb ending to the song. The whole song changes at the end as they fade out, and it's done quite well. I like that part of the song a lot.
I think that's a good point about the other side of the band, because this song is not Baby Blue. We said is as serious and genuine as a songwriter can be. This feels like a joke almost, or like they're having some fun. They're joking around. And it's also the fact it's sped up. It sounds a little cartoonish and all of that. It works for that. But
I think that was done to match their voices a little bit. Or maybe I'm wrong about that. But I think Joey has the first verse and Tom Evans has the second verse. Although it took me a while to figure it out. It's not the same guy singing each verse. That's the other part of the band. Just to go with that. I mean, that's all I can say about that is you wouldn't know it today. They were not a backing band for Pete Ham, and they were on their own. That group was really something to see, and there were different elements in it, and this is an example of a whole nother axis of almost, I'd call it a Joey Tommy kind of lighter, irreverent. It's a little bit psychedelic almost.
It is, yeah, and that's what I thought. Well, hearing the ending, it's like something off Magical Mystery Tour,
Yes.
right? It's like, and in a way, it's kind of unfulfilling. Like it's
there is
2
a fly on
minutes.
Magical Mystery Tour.
That's true too,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like 2 minutes. It doesn't really. It kind of just ends in this ethereal place. And
Yeah.
I think I have some issues with the mixing of it. I don't know. Maybe that's like heresy to say about Straight Up, anything on Straight Up, but. Like I think the piano was very loud at certain points. The solo was perfect, like the guitar solo there. But like some of the mixing in it just felt a little bit weird, and the ending very much is like a cliffhanger that needs some. Maybe the medley needed to keep going or something.
Something not complete about it to you, or to your
A little
ears?
as a single. I mean, I don't know. It feels like it could have gone to one more verse. Or
It's an album track. It feels
Yeah.
like there's nothing single about this.
Yeah.
But even on this,
Which makes sense. B-sides are weird songs a lot of
Yeah,
times, right? You
yeah.
put something weird on the other side, but
yeah.
Let's rate it out of 10.
We're rating the whole record, but of course, solely due to the presence of Baby Blue on one side, 10. I have to. There are other records in my life I would give a 10 to, but there's nothing finer than this as a track so 10. That's how strong I am.
I mean, I guess a 10 for me is like Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane, or something where it really just is kind of reinforcing. So I don't think it's an amazing. Baby Blue is an amazing song. I'd give it 8.5, 9.
You can't help but your own history a little bit, and that's maybe where the 10 comes from. How massive the Day After Day Baby Blue access took me in.
I think this is what kept you there. I think no matter what, Day After Day are like the
Yeah.
gateway drugs
Yes.
for Badfinger,
Yes.
and then
That's
Baby
true.
Blue is what keeps you there, where Pete Ham is just
Yeah.
really letting you into his heart and all of this.
Yeah,
stuff.
what
So
it meant
it's-
to hear that on the record and hear that voice and
And that was the last thing that most people heard in the U.S. as a radio single. So I have, after that time, in Japan, they released Carry On Till Tomorrow Without You single. And in the Philippines, Without You was also a single with Word for the Dark to kind of capitalize off the Harry Nilsson version, I think, that was charting very highly. But no third single off Straight Up. We got one more Apple album, but yeah, this is a pretty strong single to have Straight Up there.
good job.